Hey, it's Roger with Century 21 All-Stars, your local realtor with your local story. What is your local story? Well, I'm glad that you asked. It's a gateway to the hearts, the minds, the souls of everyday people of this community doing extraordinary things. I'm ready. Are you ready? Vamos! Let's go. One of the great experiences that I've had living in Downey, and of course going to all Downey Unified Schools, is meeting and having access to men like this here to my left. For so many people like myself who are first generation college students, really you were the caveat to telling us, hey, going to a community college is okay, right? We have discussions like this.
Sure.
Prior to the internet, Facebook, social media, you had to what? You had to actually get a book or know somebody. So Guy, for so many people like myself that, you know, whose parents didn't go to college, I remember you preaching over and over saying, hey, you guys can do it. You're just as smart as these guys. You just have to have access to higher education. So Guy, and like myself, I followed you to UCLA, so I really appreciate you coming in here.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, that's right. And you're a Bruin, so that makes it all much better. And I was quite proud of you. You were energetic then, and you're still full of energy and ambition today. That's great. That's good. And
right.
Your class was a wonderful class, 97, 98, you
Correct,
said? Right?
yeah.
97, 98 were wonderful classes. A lot of those students went on to become teachers and professionals, and there's a place in my heart for those two classes. They were very special.
I know personally why that was a place in your heart, because you had a big transition in your life around that time, and kind of it's pertinent to what's going on right now in the world. Is things were challenging for you, but I remember even for us in your class, we're like, man, we're cool with the way things are, and you were just almost like a sense of relief knowing that, you know, you could be yourself, and everybody was okay with that.
Right, and that's how education is kind of transformed today.
Right.
It is much more student-centered and being yourself. Back in your day, it was a little bit more about conformity. It started to change the movement, and today it's very much student-centered, which is one of the benefits, I think, of education. It's not all about conformity anymore and following every rule, hook, line, and sinker, and everybody has to act and think the same way. But today, the kids are allowed to be who they are.
Right.
And teachers as well.
Okay, guys, so specifically, how'd you end up teaching, and more importantly, how'd you end up teaching here at the Downey Unified School District?
Yeah, I had no plans on teaching. I fell into it through campaigns. I was working on campaigns with lots of students, particularly Bellflower High School back in 1986. So through the campaign, working with kids, I decided that what was most important was be happy, find something I really loved. And I found that it wasn't politics that I really loved per se. It was teaching about politics and working with the kids at Bellflower High. I went from having a nice job as an administrative assistant for a politician and running campaigns, and I still ran a few on the side. The last one was the mayor of Downey, and I started out 1 year at Downey High and then went over to Warren and taught AP government a little bit. And I've been an advisor to the Environmental Club, Gay Club, Bible Club, and Key Club all those years. And in fact, at one time we had the Gay Club on one side of the room and the Bible Club on the other side of the room. And I was advisor. We had some interesting conversations.
Yeah. So there was definitely a lot of times there was a lot of good times, but as you kind of touched on earlier, there was some also challenging times, in particular, personally challenging times for you. You could see that sometimes you were nervous. Like it was risky. It was different for you then coming out than now.
Especially then, touching on any controversial subjects. That was risky because everything was about conformity.
You definitely weren't conforming at that time.
I knew that I was pushing the envelope.
For sure.
And particularly when I made a decision that here I am teaching government, and we're teaching about gay rights as a movement, and I'm gay, and it was like someone who had fought a war or parents had gone through a Holocaust or some historic event. But if you're teaching history, and I remember teaching 10th graders the Holocaust, and we're talking about the upside down purple triangles and what special treatment for homosexuals. And so at that time, and that usually was way into the year, it was even appropriate for the 10th graders to say, that could have been me. With you guys as seniors, I made a decision that when we talk about these issues in politics, and at that time it was just generally about gay rights, it wasn't even about marriage at that time, just about the rights and equality for gays. What I did get is for several years in a row in the early 2000s, especially when gay marriage became an issue, I did get students checking out of my class because they felt uncomfortable
Okay.
And we let that go on for a while. I didn't want to rock the boat and let them go on their way. But at a certain point, probably about a decade ago, the administration or my chairman of my department and the other teachers said, this isn't right. As for the process of coming out and that sort of stuff, I don't want people to get the wrong impression. I decided that, hey, look at me, I'm gay. It was, I told my parents before I started teaching, asked me, was I going to talk about it? And of course, I told them that I had lived a life of lies, for years about who I was, and that if students had ever asked me, I was going to tell them the truth, and I'd face the consequences for those actions. So then people had some idea, and so during the appropriate time, discussing gay rights or something like that, it would come out or something. Eventually, I just started saying at the first day of class, if you have any problem with it, the time now is to check out. I'm not changing who I am. 1997, I remember the principal hadn't said a word to me all year long, and I got the impression that I was on the outs. And finally, in late May, he comes up to me and puts his hand on my shoulder and says, "Guy, you're doing a good job." And I wondered, where the heck did that come from? He hasn't said a word to me. I figured they got to know now what's going on, who I am. Well, on my birthday, I remember it was June 4th, they had an assembly, not because it was my birthday, but they had an assembly honoring inspirational teachers. There was some program. And I remember the students themselves, they had both sides of the gym filled up, and they had voted me as one of the most inspirational teachers. But I had heard through the grapevine that if my sexuality was okay with the kids, then it was okay with the administration. So eventually we got to say gay as much as we want to, and surprisingly, as much as we said gay in the class, nobody turned gay because we said gay. It's not about being proud of being gay. It's just we're trying to say don't be ashamed. Be proud of who you are. Because I thought if I lied about it, if I acted like my picture of my desk was my roommate, not my boyfriend, later they would think I was ashamed.
Right.
And I never wanted students to think that I was ashamed of who I was.
Okay, so what were some of the more memorable moments that you look back in, 30 years?
Yeah,
30 years in the Downey Unified School District. What are some of the better memories?
Well, I think that what I really hold on to is those moments when students' light bulbs went on. I remember a young lady who, after this campaign simulation, she was getting back the results of the brochure she made, and she got all 12s, the highest, and her group was commending her, and she said, finally, after 4 years of high school, I found something I'm good at. And I just overheard it,
Right.
I thought to myself that, wow, that's what it's about, I remember all the emails I get from former students who went on to politics throughout the country, helping run presidential campaigns to student elections in colleges, and there's been dozens that I get back that say, hey, due to the election simulation, it sparked an interest. I ended up majoring in political science, went on some to law. Again, like I say, many of them major campaigns and public relations and all sorts of stuff. And of course, those are moments that are great. But anyhow, that's what you teach for, is those success stories, that I've seen in my lifetime. Our system work, where good people have come together to try to lessen the roadblocks to poverty and racism and whatever else external obstacles to help lift all of us up.
So what are some of the challenges that students face like today, and how would you change that or help them with those challenges?
Motivation, I think the idea is one of the biggest problems we as teachers have with the case of the lazies. A lot of students are very capable, very bright kids,
Right.
But they got this big lazy streak running through them. And they need to see the long-term goals, and need to understand that you got to get past these few short-term goals to get to the long-term, and all of it requires work, even if it doesn't seem like it's necessary or important to achieve this long-term goal. It's part of the game we all have to play to get to the long-term goal, and to jump over these hurdles and obstacles, and to say no, I can't go play basketball tonight, or I can't go to the party. I got to study, you know, and to sacrifice immediate gratification for long-term goals. If I had to change one thing, you know, I think do more of, or initiate a program of my own, be a lot more teacher mentorships with students you think are falling through the cracks. The teachers should have 2 or 3 students that they choose or that are chosen for them, that they create relationships with them in and out of the classroom, and are kind of like their cheerleaders, because a lot of kids don't have that cheerleader at home, and that's why they're not motivated, you know.
So you started in Bellflower with the politics, you transitioned for the last 30 years, the people, places, things, systems have changed, obviously personal challenges as well, and really kind of going through those barriers. Now what? Where does Guy Weeks go from here? 2020, kind of coming out, leaving in a bang, kind of where you came in, an interesting time to leave. So now what? What happens with Guy Weeks?
I see a new chapter in my life, and I was fortunate enough to discover another country that I love, and that's Mexico, 15 years ago. And I think of that as my home. I have 2 homes, you know. Home is where your mother is, and you know, and home is, you know, for me also in Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And I have a lot of friends there, both American expats and Mexicans there that are my friends. And there's something to be said about the giving, communal nature of Mexico. And I had promised students for years, and I'll get to that picture, it's going to be a while. I thought it would happen by now, but I always promised them, like, friend me on Facebook, and you're going to see a picture of me with a bonito margarito in this mano and my alto mano a guapo senor.
Right.
And that's going to have to wait probably until the 2021 Mexico.
Well, Guy, we're excited that you did this,
right.
and to come in. I know that people, especially like know us on social media, and people who I don't know, obviously part of the Downey family, Downey Unified School District. Honestly, we're just grateful that you're happy, right? Like, right. And I think sharing this video is going to show people like, hey man, like, Guy's doing cool, friend him on Facebook, and it's an interesting time in the world, really, to be retiring for so many people. So my intention in really doing this is obviously to say thank you to you. You're obviously a mentor and all that, you know, really, I got to college because of people like you, for sure. And hopefully this brings some just joy and positivity to people right now. I think they, some heavy stuff going on in the world. They definitely need some levity, and you're bringing it to them, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Guy Weeks.
Appreciate it.